Hey folks, this is Dean Gould here, the other Dean G, not Dean Graciasi, but Dean Gould. I was excited to learn that Dean was also named after Dean Martin. My mom actually went to high school with Dean Martin, Steubenville, Ohio. I think that and $5 will get me a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Love Dean Martin, love the Rat Pack, and I'm excited to be here to tell you about something that's long overdue, me making this video about Einstein's mathematical miracle, which is something that I hope this video and a book that I've written, but really I want this video to, be passed along to everybody, that will be a video of hope and a book of hope that really anybody in this great country, no matter what your race is, your nationality, your gender, your your location, nothing can stop Einstein's mathematical miracle in helping everyone to experience and enjoy the great American dream and to enjoy wealth in their lifetime. So when I was a kid, there was 26 million or 29 million Americans living in poverty. And today, unfortunately, in the wealthiest country in the world, there's still 32 million people living in poverty. And so I think in ending that all starts with hope and giving people hope that their situations don't have to remain the way they are. And then there's a lot of things that will play into helping to end or at least mitigate poverty in our lifetime. So a little bit about me. I started this journey back when I was 29 years old. I had sort of bounced around from job to job, and I got laid off out of the real estate industry. First time that I had lost a job, but sort of helped me reflect and sort of think about my life and where I wanted to head. And I was flat broke at that time. It's sort of the way you hear a lot of these stories, but I didn't have two nickels to rub together. And I was living on the floor of a friend of mine's office in his home apartment at that time. And he had already moved up in the world, was region manager, was doing great. And I was still sort of trying to find myself, and really decided at that point that I was going to change my destiny and my path and really get onto the road of success and happiness. Not that financial success makes you happy, but it certainly makes it easier. So about that time, I had learned from my father, who had been very successful in his career, about Einstein's rule of 72. And it's funny because over the years, I have probably spoken to over 1,000 people. I sort of tell everybody I can about that mathematical fact. And I would say 95% of the people either have somewhat heard about it or have never heard about it at all and don't know what it is, which I find amazing. Many people are familiar with compounding interest, but the rule of 72 is, again, a mathematical fact that Einstein discovered, and he says that that was his greatest mathematical discovery and gift that he was given, that he then passed on to the world, even greater than E equals MC squared. So I want to jump right into it. And really my mission and my goal for this video is that you walk away truly understanding the basic concepts about this mathematical fact, and that you set in motion the things to help yourself implement this in your life, and to learn as much as you can about it. You can certainly learn a lot about it in a book that I wrote that you can learn more about it at www.salesconnect180.com. But that's not the purpose of the video. The purpose of the video is to get this out into the world, to have you leave this video with an understanding of the rule of 72 and how it can work in your life. And to jump right into it again, basically the rule of 72 will tell you how long it takes you to double your money. So if you take the rate of return, and I know some of you may not know what the rate of return is, but if you take the rate of return that you're getting on your investments and you divide that into 72, that will tell you how long it takes you to double your money. Rate of return is the rate, you know, if you put your money in the bank, you're getting almost like nothing at this point as far as rate of return. If you put your money in the broad stock market over the last 80 years, it's averaged between 9.5% and 11%. So let's say 10%. So 10%, you put your money in the stock market and it grows 10% a year on average. So that's your rate of return. So if you take 10 and you divide it into 72, that tells you that you roughly will double your money every 7.2 years. And so people would say, oh, 10%. I've heard it my whole investing career. Where do you get 10%? Well, again, you can look online, you can look it up, and I'm going to post a chart of the S&P 500 over the last 85, 80 years, and you will see that it has averaged roughly 10%. And there have been huge drops in the market and massive run-ups of the market. But what's amazing is that over time, it has just continued to increase roughly 10% every year. Now, as you get older in your life and your career, you might get more conservative, add bonds into your portfolio. Bonds are a fixed interest investment, and they too, I believe, have roughly returned roughly 10%, but you know, you get more conservative. So some people might say, well, I'd like to get a 7% return. I don't believe I can get a 10% return. So again, the rule of 72 would say that if you take that 7 divided into 72, then roughly every 10 years, you're going to double your money. So what I want to do is show you a couple of powerful illustrations of how anybody, and I say anybody, I mean, you know, unfortunately, if you're living in a state of poverty in this country, there's really no way to save money. You're really living to survive. But I think one of the other big messages that's important to me that I believe will help not only people in this country, but really help solve a lot of issues that we're facing is education. So if people can get educated, and that doesn't mean necessarily going to college, that could mean going to a trade school. You know, the average plumber in this country makes $50,850 a year, I believe. And the average carpenter makes almost $50,000 a year. And those people that are living in states that are really active right now in real estate, I had a very good friend of mine in California. He used to fix up homes for me, and just himself and a helper, he himself was bringing home over $150,000 a year doing renovations. So again, if you look then at college, if you can get to college, and there are programs all over the country and from the government and from your state, which will help people go to college, the average college graduate earns $50,000 a year. That's the average starting salary. So that means over the course of their lifetime that you're going to hopefully earn a lot more than that, maybe 60, 70,000. But depending on where you live in the country, it is possible for you to better your life, to get a degree from a trade school, from a IT training, or to go to college, and to implement Einstein's Rule 72, what I call mathematical miracle. So what I want to do is share just one example, and on our Facebook page, which is Einstein's Mathematical Miracle Makers for Obtaining Wealth and Giving, we'll be posting more examples of the Rule of 72, and you can also, again, get more in-depth examples and strategies if you go to salesconnect180.com. But hopefully you're seeing my screen. If you look here, this shows somebody getting out of trade school or college and them saving $12,000 a year. Now, that might seem like a lot of money, but when you're right out of college, there's ways you can sacrifice somewhat. It's going to take hard work and some sacrifice, but you can live at home with your parents. You can have roommates when you're single and share the cost of living. But again, this is one example where you're putting away $12,000 a year. And what I'm just using this as an illustration is to show you how mathematically the rule of 72 is factual. It's not like some hocus pocus or something that I made up or that Einstein made up. Einstein, in doing the math, discovered this. And so, again, using simple interest, which means that you're paid at the end of the year, your interest. If you invest $12,000 and you're getting a 10% return in the market, your portfolio or your collection of investments would grow by $1,200. Plus, you would then put in your next $12,000. So at the end of 2 years, you would have 24,000, which is the 12,000 times 2, plus the interest you earned after year 1. So you'd have $25,200. And now you've got $25,000 invested in the market. Again, you're getting 10%. So that's $2,520 after the 3rd year. Plus you add another $12,000. You're now up to $39,720. So you do this, you say, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice my life for 10 years. I'm going to live at home for the first couple of years, or I'm going to live with 4 roommates and share the cost and work hard and find a way as a plumber, carpenter, or as a first year, coming out of college, to put away $12,000. But after that 10 years, I'm done. I'm not going to save another dime. I want to live life. I want to, get married. Kids are going to take a lot of the money. And so after those 10 years, I'm done. And I'm using sort of simple math to illustrate a point. So at the end of the 10 years, you got out of college at age 22, you started saving. And then at age 32, with the compounding interest, you now have just under $200,000. You have $191,249. And so you didn't save another dime, but the rule of 72 says that if you leave that money invested, that in roughly 7 years, 7.2 years, you will have doubled your money. So if we go through this example, whoops. So you're 32, so roughly at age 40, between 39 and 40, that 191,000 should be just under 400,000. So 7 years plus 32, you're 39 to 40. Right in that area, your just under 200,000 is almost $400,000. And you can do the math yourself. But then if you tack on another 7.2 years, which you'd be roughly 47 and a half years or so, your roughly 400,000 should then be worth around 800,000. And there you go, $799,000. And then tack on another 7.2 years. So you're roughly 54 and something. So you're just under 800,000. So you were 47, so 54. Take that 800, it was under 800, but it's now almost worth $1.6 million. So I've sort of rounded numbers here and there, but you can see that just by sacrificing those first 10 years of your professional career, again, whether you're a plumber or a carpenter or an IT programmer, you find a way in those first 10 years. Maybe you got a side gig, you're doing something, driving Uber, you could put away $12,000 a year. By the time you are 50 years old, that money has now grown to over $1 million. Now, nothing's guaranteed. Everybody has that disclosure. I can't guarantee what the stock market's going to do, but again, I will post that stock chart and you can look it up yourself and Google it. But over the last 80 to 100 years, the S&P 500 has returned roughly 10%. So this works. This is not, again, voodoo, hocus pocus, and it's real math that can work in your life. I've simplified a lot of things, but what I would suggest to all of you is to open up a Vanguard account where the fees are very low. And there's a great book, one of my sales reps that worked for me, if you ever work for me, again, all my reps, I've motivated them as far as why they should do their best to be, sell the most product and be the best sales rep. I often use the rule of 72 to show them that with that hard work and sacrifice, that it will pay long-term dividends in their life and for their family. And there's a book called, one of my reps, one of the things that he read was a book called The Gone Fishing Portfolio, where the author, who was a hedge fund, very successful, he was a billionaire, but definitely worth quite a bit of money, ran a hedge fund, and his suggestion was Vanguard funds, very low fees, dollar cost average by putting money away every month, and again, putting that money away every month, letting it compound, and then once a year, you sort of rebalance your portfolio for 20 minutes in Vanguard to get it back to the asset allocation that he suggested, which is the spread of different investments, whether it be international stocks, growth stocks, value stocks. You reset your portfolio and you just keep on letting it ride over the long term in the broad market. So that's a great strategy. I will tell you that for those of you like me who sort of panic when the market starts to crash, that is where stockbrokers earn their worth. Because when you're panicking and you're about to sell, a good stockbroker will convince you not to do that, not to try to time the market. And if you look at that stock chart of the S&P 500 over time, you will see that while there have been huge drops in the market, I think back in, 2008, the market might have dropped like 40%, but you'll also see that it jumps back up very fast and regains what it lost. And over the long term, again, expect a 10% return. So I hope that I've done a good job in explaining the rule of 72. My mission and my goal and people that I'm working with is that all 324 million Americans and people all over this world will understand this concept and understand that we live in a world and in a universe of infinite resource, and that everybody should be able to enjoy not only in the American dream, but should be able to reach financial independence, at least in their retirement. So thank you. It's been my honor. I hope to hear from you on the website, on the Facebook, and I hope you all the best.